I'm reading The Tempest and I don't understand any of it. I need help understanding Shakespeare. That's where I got you. If this is you, look no further. English students, actors, I'm here to help. You can understand Shakespeare, and we're going to do it together. This isn't an analysis. This isn't a place where you can cheat on your homework. Rather, we are going to be reading the original text together, breaking it apart, because all you need is context. All you need is someone that knows how to read it aloud. You just need some background, and we're going to be talking through it. This is the second part of Act 1, Scene 2 of The Tempest. Here we go. We had just left when Miranda falls asleep due to her father Prospero's magic. Remember, Prospero is a wizard. Now, it's actually a little bit useful to keep in mind that there's different types of magic users, and think of like Dungeons and Dragons. Wizards gain their ability through study, through artifacts, through controlling various spirits. So Prospero, he's powerful, but it's his cloak that he puts on. It's his command over Ariel the spirit. And that's actually what we're going to be seeing now. So he says to Ariel, come away, meaning come here, servant. Come away from where you are. Come. I am ready now. So he's ready to talk to him. Approach, my Ariel. Come. Now, when we hear Ariel, you think Little Mermaid. Don't think Little Mermaid. It is rather, Ariel is supposed to be like air. He's a spirit. He's vaporous. He is incorporeal, without a body, so he's able to act upon the world, but it's supposed to be a different type of creature. Also, in Hebrew, that means lion of God. So this has a little bit to do with the idea of like, this is a mystical spirit type thing. There's a religious element. Also, this name appears as that of a magical spirit in various occult texts. Shakespeare's time, occultism, demonology was a huge thing. King James released a demonology text in like 1610, around there. Fact check me on this. But point being, spirits, occultism, all this was popular around that time. So he must have gotten this from some list of occult text, or this was a common name when dealing with spirits. So approach my Ariel, come, and enters Ariel. And he just greets him, all hail, great master. Grave sir, meaning sir of gravity, great sir. Hail, I come to answer thy best pleasure, be it to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire, to ride on the curled clouds. So he's coming to do whatever is the pleasure of Prospero, and it's all these fantastic things. He can fly, be in fire, he can ride on clouds. To thy strong bidding, task Ariel, and all his quality. Their task is used as a verb. So to thy strong bidding, you're bidding what you want me to do, and it's strong. He cannot resist it. Ariel is bound. Task Ariel and all his quality, meaning all the qualities of him, everything that he can do. Prospero says, hast thou, spirit, performed to point the tempest that I bade thee? Hast thou, meaning have you. Just a little bit older English. You got it. Hast thou, spirit, performed to point, meaning in detail, the tempest that I bade thee? And Ariel says, to every article, meaning to every part of the task that you set to me. So now we find out that it was Ariel who caused the tempest at Prospero's bidding. So he relates back what we saw in scene 1. He says, I boarded the king's ship. Now on the beak, meaning the prow, now in the waist, the deck, in every cabin, I flamed amazement. So he was all over the ship in the form of flames, and he would be amazing people. Amazing, not being like, wow, this is so amazing, I love it, but amazement as in, I am struck in awe with terror. As I became flames, people were terrified, and we saw how terrified they were. Sometimes I'd divide, meaning he'd literally split himself. So Ariel's a spirit. He's not confined to a single spot. So he would divide and burn in many places, literally be fire all over the place. On the topmast, the yards, and the bowsprit would I flame distinctly, then meet and join. So he'd divide himself and then come back together, because he can do that. He's a spirit. Jove's lightning. Jove is Jupiter, Zeus, the god of lightning. Jove's lightning, the precursors of the dreadful thunderclaps. Precursors comes before of thunderclaps. Lightning, then thunder. Easy, you got it. More momentary in sight outrunning were not. So, lightning were not more momentary in sight outrunning than he was. He was so quick. He was faster than lightning. That's just a fast artistic, not a fast, that's an artistic, drawn out way, opposite of fast actually, of saying that he was quick. The fire in cracks of sulphurous roaring, the most mighty Neptune seemed to besiege and make his bold waves tremble. There, Neptune, god of the sea. So the fire in cracks of sulphurous roaring, that's the lightning and the Tempest himself, him as flames. It seemed to make the sea, Neptune, quake and tremble. Yeah, his dread trident shake. Neptune was known to have a trident. So it's like his tempest was so bad that the sea was terrified, meaning the sea was also whipped up into shape. Prospero says, my brave spirit. Not brave like you're courageous, but means like good, like well done. Who was so firm, so constant, that this coil would not infect his reason, that this turmoil would not infect his reason, make him lose his mind with terror. Not a soul, but felt a fever of the mad, and played some tricks of desperation. So he says, who was courageous enough to not let this kind of drive him mad with fear? And Ariel says, not a soul. Not a soul, but felt a fever of the mad. Fever drives people delirious of the mad, being like, oh, I am insane, I'm without reason. And played some tricks of desperation. Played some tricks, meaning they performed some actions of desperation. So everyone became desperate. They all lost their spirit. All but mariners plunged in the foaming brine and quit the vessel, then all afire with me. So the vessel was all afire. It wasn't really on fire. Ariel was pretending for it to be on fire. So everyone but the mariners jumped into the foaming brine, into the ocean. So the mariners, the sailors, they stayed on the ship, but everyone else left. The king's son, Ferdinand, we heard about him, with hair upstaring. Literally, when you get so scared that your hair's standing on edge, we know about this expression. Then, like reeds, not hair, was the first man that leapt, cried, hell is empty, and all the devils are here. It's a famous Shakespearean saying. Ferdinand was the first to jump off the ship and says, like, this is worse than hell, the devils are here. And he's more on point than perhaps he realized, because Ariel is the spirit causing this terror. Perhaps Ferdinand had some type of insight into that there's a spirit causing this. Perhaps he's just superstitious. Who knows? He's essentially saying, this is hell, and I will jump out of the ship into a foaming sea where it is preferable than being here. Prospero is so pleased. He's like, why, that's my spirit. But was not this nigh shore? Nigh meaning near or approaching. So this was close to shore. And Ariel says, close by, my master. Prospero wants to know, but are they, Ariel, safe? It's very important that the people that jumped off of the boat are all safe, not harmed. The Tempest wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. Ariel says, not a hair perished. So even the smallest little bit of them, not a single one perished. On their sustaining garments, not a blemish, but fresher than before. The sustaining garments were the garments that lifted them up. As they came in, they were like filled with air, buoying them up. So they sustained them, they gave them life. And those garments don't have a blemish. In fact, it's actually fresher than before. Ariel cleaned their garments. And as thou badest me, bates meaning as you bid or commanded me, in troops I have dispersed them. In groups I have dispersed them about the isle. So there's various groups all around the island. The king's son have I landed by himself, whom I left cooling of the air with sighs, in an odd angle of the isle, and sitting, his arms in this sad knot. So the knot that he's doing is this. So he left the prince by himself. Everyone else is off in groups, but the prince is cooling of the air with sighs. So he's upset. Perhaps he's sighing for his fortune. Perhaps he's sighing in grief, thinking that his father is dead. Who knows? So the king's alone. Everyone else is in groups. This was all Prospero's plan. Prospero says, of the king's ship, the mariners, say how thou hast disposed in all the rest of the fleet. So he's asking, of the king's ship and the mariners, what did you do with them? Where did you put them? And all the rest of the fleet. There was more than just one ship. Ariel says, safely in harbor is the king's ship. Cool. So, king's ship, it's safe. In the deep nook where once thou call'st me up at midnight to fetch dew from the still vexed Bermudas, there she's hid. So we don't know what he's talking about there. That is an event that's saying, hey, remember that one time that you had me fetch dew from the ever stormy Bermudas? That's where I hid them. We weren't privy to that. It's just a way of saying, hey, we've had history. We've interacted before. See this rich world where things have already been happening? That's how. All he's saying is that the king's ship is just in harbor. The mariners all under hatches stowed, who, with a charm joined to their suffered labor, I have left asleep. So, with the charm joined to their suffered labor, they're asleep. They were given a sleeping charm, pretty similar probably to Miranda's sleeping charm. But also their suffered labor. They're exhausted. Their exhaustion and the sleeping charm are leaving them asleep. All of the sailors are not a part of the plan. They're asleep. So, the shuffle there have them sleeping. For the rest of the fleet, which I dispersed, they all have met again and are upon the Mediterranean float, bound sadly home for Naples, supposing that they saw the king's ship wrecked and his great person perish. All the rest of the fleet is left, thinking the king is dead and his ship has been wrecked. Ariel, thy charge exactly is performed, but there's more work. What is the time of the day? Ariel says past the mid-season. The mid-season of the day is noon. At least 2 glasses, meaning hourglasses. So he's talking about at least 2 hours. The time twixt 6 and now must by us both be spent most preciously. The rest of the play is going to just take place between noon and 6 p.m. of one day. Ariel asks, is there more toil? Since thou dost give me pains, let me remember thee what thou hast promised, which is not yet performed me. So he says, let me remember thee. It's not saying let I remember you. It is let me remind you. Let me you remind. Or allow me to help you remember that you have promised something and has not yet been performed for me. Prospero says, how now? Meaning like, what is this? What is happening now? Moody? Meaning, are you in a mood? Are you emotional? What is this? What is it thou canst demand? What are you asking? Ariel says, just very simply, my liberty. Ariel is not free. Ariel has to do as Prospero commands. Interesting. But he wants to be free. And it appears that Prospero has promised this to him, but has not yet done it. Prospero says, before the time be out, no more. So he's saying, no, time has not been reached. We are not going to speak more of this. Ariel says, I prithee, meaning I pray thee. Remember, I have done thee worthy service, told thee no lies, made no mistakings, served without or grudge or grumblings. So that's served without or grudge or grumblings, meaning either. I have served you without grudge, without harboring hatred, or even complaining. Thou did promise to bate me a full year, meaning to remit or excuse me a full year after a year of service. You would excuse me, let me be free. Prospero is going to ask, dost thou forget from what a torment I did free thee? Are you forgetting the torment that I freed you from? So we're going to get a little bit of backstory in terms of Prospero and Ariel's relationship. We're starting to get more of a read on this. Prospero, who at first is like, he's a kindly old wizard, or he's a wise old man, he's a sage. We associate things with that sort of image of like a Dumbledore or a Gandalf. He's a magic user and he knows everything, so he has a spirit who's essentially his slave, who wants to be free. Now we're learning that Prospero freed Ariel from some type of torment. And Ariel just responds, no, I have not forgotten. Prospero says, thou dost, meaning you have forgotten. And thinkest it much to tread the ooze of the salt deep, to run upon the sharp wind of the north, to do me business in the veins of the earth when it is baked with frost. So you have forgotten, and you think it much to do these things. And you think it much. It is a lot for you to apparently tread the ooze of the salt deep, the ocean. Because remember, Ariel can go where humans can't. Or to run upon the sharp wind of the north. Or to do me business in the veins of the earth. Think of like gold veins or veins of iron, metal veins of the earth. These are just three different types of elements that Prospero might send Ariel on errands to go doing this. And you think much of this. You think it's a bad task. Ariel says, I do not, sir. And Prospero, thou liest, malignant thing. So it seems that Prospero's truly upset with Ariel. You are a malignant thing, a bad thing. You're lying to me. We see an angry side of Prospero. I mean, this whole play is kind of his revenge scheme. So we do see that he has quite a penchant for anger. Hast thou forgot the foul witch Sycorax, who with age and envy was grown into a hoop? Meaning has age and envy has caused her to crouch over. She was so old. She's like a haggard old witch. This is the first we're hearing of Sycorax. When he says to Ariel, have you forgotten Sycorax? What Shakespeare's doing is like, hey, you don't know this person. I'm introducing you by having two characters be like, oh yeah, I remember this thing that happened to both of us. He says, hast thou forgot her? Ariel says, no, sir. Prospero says, thou hast. Where was she born? Speak, tell me. Ariel says, sir, in Algiers, part of Africa. Prospero says, oh, was she so? I must once in a month recount what thou hast been, which thou forgettest. So it seems that this is a conversation they're having every month about the torment that Prospero freed Ariel from. This damned witch Sycorax, for mischiefs manifold and sorceries terrible to enter human hearing, from Algiers, thou knowest, was banished. So for mischiefs manifold and sorceries terrible to enter human hearing, things that are too awful, magic and witchcraft too awful to enter into the hearing of humans, was banished from Algiers. For one thing she did, they would not take her life. Is not this true? So he's saying she was banished. There was one thing that she did, they would not take her life. The one thing is she was pregnant. You can't kill at this time. You cannot kill or inflict a capital sentence upon a woman if she was pregnant. The idea being that capital sentences were commuted for pregnant women. Ordinarily, a witch like Sycorax would have been hanged or burned at the stake. This was early 1600s. Like I said, King James had that book on demonology. I think Salem witch trials are happening sort of in the Puritan sphere elsewhere. Maybe not the exact time, but around this. There's occultism and fear of witches in the air. So she was banished because she was pregnant. Is not this true? Ariel knows all this. Prospero, Shakespeare, is saying all this for our benefit to know this background. So Sycorax was banished from Africa. Ariel says, "Aye, sir." Prospero says, "This blue-eyed hag was hither brought with child to this island here." Hither means here. "And here was left by the sailors. Thou, my slave," he just calls him a slave, "thou, my slave, as thou reportest thyself, was then her servant." Ariel used to be the servant of Sycorax. "And for thou wast a spirit too delicate to act her earthy and abhorred commands. So, refusing her grand hest, she did confine thee." So, Ariel was too delicate. Also, her commands were too abhorred, too awful, also too earthy. And I have a note here that means that it's difficult for Ariel, whose element is air. Earthy can also mean grossly material or coarse, or like if something is very earthy, think of that as opposed to spiritual, like earth and air with this dichotomy. So her commands were too earthy, too abhorred. So you refused her grand hest, her commands. She did confine thee by help of her more potent ministers. Her potent ministers were agents or slaves. More potent, they had more power. So Sycorax, like Prospero, had spirits at her command, and by the more powerful, potent spirits, did confine Ariel in her most unmitigatable rage into a cloven pine. So sealed Ariel up in a pine as a prison, within which rift imprisoned thou didst painfully remain 12 years. So Ariel was locked up in a pine tree by magic for 12 years. Within which space she died and left thee there. So Sycorax died during those 12 years, and Ariel was going to be trapped there seemingly forever. Where thou didst vent thy groans as fast as mill wheels strike. Think of a mill wheel like one of those water wheels that takes the water. It's hitting the water pretty fast when especially if you have water really hitting with a waterfall. That's how quickly Ariel is groaning. It's an image. Then was this island, save for the sun that she did litter here, a freckled whelp hag-born, not honored with a human shape. So, after she left, this island was not honored with a human shape, meaning there's no human, except for the son that she did litter here. And that's interesting because litter means, like, literally we have kind of like trash, right? Like he was littered here. Litter means give birth, but it's also a very, like, animal way of talking about giving birth. So I say that the son that she did bear here or bore here said littered here, like how a dog has a litter of puppies, right? And he says he's a freckled whelp, hag-born. This is our first reference of Caliban, whom we will meet soon enough. And Ariel gives the name. Yes, Caliban, her son. Important to keep Caliban in mind. He's going to be an important figure in this play, and really in all of Shakespearean's canon. He's a very popular character. So we know that Caliban is the son of Sycorax, this witch who committed terrible sorceries and mischiefs, who was banished to this island, imprisoned Ariel up in a tree, and died. Prospero says, "Dull thing, I say so." As in, yes, that's what I just said. Dull thing is like you're being stupid. I just said this. "He, that Caliban, whom now I keep in service." So, okay, a little bit more. "Caliban, I also keep in service." So, Prospero has Caliban and Ariel both in his service. "Thou best knowest what torment I did find thee in. Thy groans did make wolves howl and penetrate the breasts of ever angry bears." So his groans were so bad that wolves would howl and bears would feel the groans deep within them. "It was a torment to lay upon the damned, which Sycorax could not again undo." So it was something so bad that the damned in hell would suffer this. That's what you were suffering. It was mine art when I arrived and heard thee that made gape the pine and let thee out. So he arrived all those years ago, opened up the pine, made it gape, and let Ariel out. Ariel says, I thank thee, master. Prospero, if thou more murmurest, if you murmur more, complain, I will rend an oak and peg thee in his knotty entrails till thou hast howled away 12 winters. They're knotty, like knots of wood. His entrails are guts. I will peg thee into the oak's guts till thou hast howled away 12 winters, 12 more years. Ariel says, pardon, master. I will be correspondent to command and do my spriting gently. I will be compliant to what you do. I will do my spriting, my actions graciously listening. And Proust says, do so. And after 2 days, I will discharge thee. I will free you. I just need 2 more days of service. Ariel says, that's my noble master. And suppose he truly believes it. This is up to the interpretation. How much does Ariel resent Prospero? How much is he truly kind of like an abused puppy that gets hit but comes crawling back for affection, believing every word? How good of a person is Prospero? How much is performance? Performance is a big part of this play. Especially Prospero plays many parts, as we will see later, when he has his big sort of spirit pageant. So that's all up for a director and actors to really figure out, but this is what's in the text. So Ariel says, what shall I do? Say what? What shall I do? Prospero says, go make thyself like a nymph of the sea. Be subject to no sight but thine and mine, invisible to every eyeball else. Go, take this shape, and hither come in it. Go, hence with diligence. So essentially saying, go look like a nymph of the sea. A nymph is a water sprite, a water spirit. So go look like a water spirit. Disguise yourself, be invisible to everyone except for yourself and mine, and then come in that shape. Go, be diligent. Leaves. Now he will turn to Miranda and say, awake, dear heart, awake. Thou hast slept well, awake. And this could be a normal awakening, but it seems like maybe he might be enacting some type of anti-charm upon her. Miranda says, the strangeness of your story put heaviness in me. Heaviness being like heaviness of eyes, sleepiness. Proust says, shake it off, come on. We'll visit Caliban, my slave, who never yields us kind answer. He never answers us kindly. We're going to go visit him. Miranda, who's a very kind person, very sharply says, 'tis a villain, sir, I do not love to look on. And that's a very kind way of putting Miranda's relationship with Caliban, as we will see why in a second. She does not love to look on. She doesn't say, I hate him. She says, I do not love to look on that villain. Proust says, but as 'tis, we cannot miss him. We can't avoid him. As 'tis, as things are. He does make our fire, fetch in our wood, and serves in offices that profit us. He serves in offices, meaning duties or capacities that profit us. They're good for us. So Caliban is also a slave to Prospero. He's the son of Sycorax, as we just learned. And he seems to do like the menial labor. So he says, what ho, slave, Caliban, thou earth, thou speak. Thou earth, a common way of referring to people maybe like they're lowly or when he's not as being less than noble, especially in Shakespeare's play, is to refer to them as earth. Think of in Genesis how Adam is made up of earth. And then the Spirit of God is breathed into him, and that gives him life. So to refer to him as like, you are earth. It's just saying that you are the baser, less noble, less inspired part of humanity. Caliban, thou earth, thou speak. Caliban from within says there's wood enough within. He's presuming, hey, I've already brought wood. He thinks he's being called to fetch more wood. The person says, come forth, I say. There's other business for thee. Come, thou tortoise. He's calling him a slowpoke. You're a tortoise. You're a turtle. When? Now Ariel enters like a water nymph. He just said, go look like a water nymph and come back. Now Ariel apparently could probably change his shape just on command, but probably the actor has to go get changed and had a very short amount of time to do that. So Ariel enters in and says, fine apparition, my quaint Ariel. Hark in thine ear. So listen, and he whispers something. Ariel says, my lord, it shall be done. So he's just given Ariel some type of command, and Ariel leaves. We don't know what it is. Proust says, thou poisonous slave, got by the devil himself upon thy wicked dam, come forth. That got means begot, as in, thou poisonous slave, you've been begotten by the devil himself upon thy wicked dam. A wicked dam is a harmful, foul mother. So he's saying you've been begotten by the devil and your mother. So he accuses Caliban of being the son of the devil and the witch, Sycorax. And this could just be an insult. It could be possibly true. I mean, we see that spirits are true, so it could quite literally be that Caliban is this sort of quasi-demonic human hybrid. It could be that he is sort of half Ariel, half human type creature. You can play with this a lot of different ways. Could just be an insult. Enter Caliban. And I actually just want to say one more thing about that. Various interpretations can take it different ways. That he is half spirit, half human. He is all human, but he's just sort of degraded and base. He's animalistic. You can take Caliban in a lot of different ways. Especially if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of slavery of a Prospero has come to this land that wasn't his, imposed his will and his power over the residents of this island, and have forced them to serve him. So there's an obvious colonial reading of this, especially with the depictions of like Caliban as this base savage. So that's a very popular way of engaging with the Tempest. Now remember, here we don't do analysis. I just want to bring it up so you have that in your mind as you're reading it. That Caliban is a very potent character, very powerful in the imagination, and is a part of a lot of discourse. So in your English class or in your production, it's probably going to be something that takes up a lot of discussion because there's just so much in this rich character. So a Caliban finally enters. And here, the reason why I paused as I was reading this note is that when Caliban enters, his costume and conduct in the first sentence often reveal whether a production is chosen to portray him as a monstrous or human or both. And such choices help to determine whether the audience is moved more by Prospero's suffering or by Caliban's. So the way that you play this, the way that you decide Caliban is this, Caliban is that, can really play on our emotions in different ways. It's a very complicated text. So, Caliban answers, as wicked dew as ere my mother brushed with raven's feather from unwholesome fen, drop on you both. This is a curse. As wicked dew as ere my mother brushed. Meaning she brushed up or collected. Dew was a common ingredient in magical potions. So his mother was Sycorax the witch. So as wicked dew as ere she brushed with raven's feather from unwholesome fen. Fen is a bog. His mother would take a raven's feather and collect dew from an unwholesome bog. Let that drop on you both. A southwest blow on ye and blister you all o'er. And that o'er is all over. The southerly wind was considered plague-bearing. So he's saying let an unwholesome dew fall on you and disease you and potion you. Let a southwest wind cover you with blisters and plague. So he enters and immediately is cursing Prospero. He hates Prospero. Prospero says, for this be sure, tonight thou shalt have cramps, side stitches that shall pen thy breath up. So this is a curse that then that Prospero is sending back, and perhaps it could be unsided, it could be both sides. Maybe Caliban has power to enact this curse. Maybe this isn't just a wish that he has, but an actual potent spell. And Prospero could also be wishing this upon him, but we know that he also has the power to do this. So maybe he's like, I'm going to cramp you up in tonight. Your breath shall be penned up by side stitches like when you run. Urchins shall forth at vasts of night, that they may work all exercise on thee. Urchins, like hedgehogs. They shall forth at vast of night, during the boundless night, that they may work all exercise on thee, that they may perform their habitual activity, pricking you with their quills. Thou shalt be pinched as thick as honeycomb. The pinch marks will be so closely packed, they'll be similar to the texture of cells of honeycomb. He's going to be pricked all over by hedgehogs. Each pinch more stinging than bees that made them. Right? So he's going to be releasing bees and urchins, hedgehogs, cramps upon him in regard for this remark. Caliban says, I must eat my dinner. This island's mine by Sycorax my mother, which thou takest from me. So Caliban has claimed rightful rulership of this. This island's mine. It was my mother's. The inheritance goes to me. There again, you get a little more of that colonial reading of Prospero has taken away Caliban's rightful ownership. Is it rightfully his? Is it rightful Prospero's? What decrees ownership or kingship? Because keep in mind that Prospero was a ruler of a nation that was taken from him. Interesting. There's a lot to unpack there. That's not what we're doing here. I dropped my book. That's not what we're doing here. I'm just helping you understand things and pointing things out for when you have to talk about this with your class or with your cast. So, when thou camest first, thou strokest me and made much of me. Wouldst give me water with berries in it and teach me how to name the bigger light and how the less that burn by day and night. To name the bigger light is the sun, the less is the moon. They burn by day and night. So now we're getting the backstory of Prospero and Caliban. He's saying, when you arrived, you gave me berries with water in them. You made much of me. Prospero treated him well when he first appeared. Prospero's first inclination was kindness. Was he manipulating him, or was it truly kind? Something to think about. And then I loved thee and showed thee all the qualities of the isle, the fresh springs, brine pits, barren places, and fertile. So he says, you won my love, and I showed you all the secrets of the island. He said, cursed be I that did so. All the charms of sycorax, toads, beetles, bats light on you. For I am all the subjects that you have, which first was mine own king. So he says, of all the subjects, this isn't subjects like in school, this is subjects of a king rules over subjects. I am all of the subjects that you have. Perhaps he doesn't know about Ariel, but I am the only one that you rule over, which first was mine own king. I used to be king of myself and king of this island until you took it and subjected me to you. And here you stymie in this hard rock, whilst you do keep from me the rest of the island. There again, you stymie, like a pig sty. You pen me up like an animal in this hard rock in this cave, keeping from the rest of the island. So Caliban has been imprisoned as well in this cave. Then you can compare that to Ariel being penned up, perhaps, in the oak tree. Prospero says, thou most lying slave. Can we trust what Caliban has said? Whom stripes may move, not kindness. So he says lashes. Stripes are like if you get whipped and it leaves a stripe on you. You are a lying slave who stripes lashes. Cruelty moves. Cruelty gets you to do things, not kindness. He believes that you attract more flies with vinegar than honey, as if they're flies, if they're a lying slave like Caliban. I have used thee, filth as thou art, with humane care. I have used thee, meaning treated you, filth as thou art, you are filth, with humane care, and lodged thee in mine own cell. So I kept you, I lodged thee, I had you live in my own cell, in my own home, till thou didst seek to violate the honor of my child. So he says, I kept you in my home until you sought to violate the honor of my own child, until Caliban tried to rape Miranda. Keep in mind that Miranda is here this entire time. She hasn't gone anywhere. She's watching this. Keep in mind that Miranda says, 'tis a villain, sir, I do not love to look on, and has been watching it this entire time. What is that like for Miranda to see Caliban, who attempted to rape her? It adds another dimension. Caliban says, oh ho, would it had been done. He says, I wish that had been done. Thou didst prevent me. So Prospero stopped him from forcing himself upon Miranda. I had peopled else this isle with Caliban. So if he had achieved what he had done, he would have peopled this island he would have filled this isle up with people, with Calibans, with many versions of himself. He wanted to impregnate Miranda and get children. Miranda steps in. Again, she has been here this entire time. I do have a note here that for about 2.5 centuries, editors reassigned this speech to Prospero, finding it inappropriate for Miranda. So make of that what you will. That might be something interesting to think about. Is this appropriate for Miranda to say? But she says, abhorred slave, which any print of goodness wilt not take, being capable of all ill. So if there's a print, you're trying to impress goodness on it, it won't take, meaning it won't stick, because you're capable of all evil. I pitied thee, took pains to make thee speak. So Miranda took time and effort to teach him how to speak, taught thee each hour one thing or another. So she pitied him when they arrived. She taught him how to speak. When thou didst not, savage, know thine own meaning, but wouldst gabble like a thing most brutish. So he didn't know what he was saying. He'd speak in a gabble. He didn't learn English. Apparently, maybe Sycorax died before she could teach him how to speak. He says, I endowed thy purposes with words that made them known. But thy vile race, your hereditary nature your very genes themselves is vile, is wicked, is bad. By thy vile race, though, thou didst learn, had that in it which good natures could not abide to be with. Therefore wast thou deservedly confined into this rock, who hadst deserved more than a prison. So you can see why Prospero might say this. Maybe perhaps Prospero took the time to teach Caliban. Besides Prospero having this idea of like, it is in your very nature itself to be evil. You could not be good. You deserve more than prison. You deserve death, is what he's implying. But what if Miranda says this? I mean, after all, she was the one who was the victim of his attempted crime. Caliban says, you taught me language, and my profit on it is I know how to curse. The red plague rid you. The red plague is a plague that gives you red sores. That gives red sores to destroy and kill you. So he says, you taught me how to speak. Thank you. Because what I get from that is now I can curse you. So he wants the red plague on you. For the red plague rid you for learning me your language. Prospero says, hag seed, the seed of a hag, literally offspring of a hag. Hence, go, fetch us in fuel, and be quick. Thou art best to answer other business. We're gonna, you are best in order to perform other tasks for us. Shruggest thou, malice? If thou neglectst or dost unwillingly what I command, I'll rack thee with old cramps, fill all thy bones with aches, make thee roar, that beasts shall tremble at thy din. So, if you neglect to do it, what I tell you to do, or if you do it unwillingly even, I will cause I will cast spells to fill you with cramps and make your bones ache and make you roar. Caliban says, no, pray thee. This clearly scares him. He's being whipped and attacked. Caliban has an aside. He speaks to himself. I must obey. His art is of such power, it would control my damn's god Setebos and make a vassal of him. So apparently his mother, his dam, had a god, Setebos, who was a name found in travel narratives as a god of the Patagonians. So apparently that this god is less powerful than Prospero was. Prospero would make a vassal of him. Kings have vassals, powerful men who are underneath him and subject to him. So Prospero is apparently very powerful, and Caliban recognizes and says, I have to obey. Prospero says, go, slave, hence. Exit Caliban. And that's where we're going to leave off now. We have the interaction with Ariel and with Caliban, the two residents of the island. There's a lot in the Prospero Ariel, Prospero Caliban, Caliban Miranda, all of these relationships. A lot to unpack, but you can understand it so long as you take the time, understand what words mean, read the footnotes, and talk through it. For all of it, I'm here to help. We will see you next time. Enjoy your reading.